You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
The stat that's been thrown around a lot this week is the paucity of New Zealand Test wins over Australia. Just 8 in 60 Test matches before this one. Ken Rutherford was involved in 3 of them. 85, 86 in Auckland. He was at the crease, unbeaten on 50 when the winning runs were scored. 89-90 at the Basin, a 9-wicket win. John Wright got a century in the second innings. And 92-93 back in Auckland, the last time we beat Australia here in New Zealand. Again, Ken Rutherford was there at the end, unbeaten on 53 and man of the match. You didn't seem to have too many problems with the Australians, Ken. How are you?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. No, even a broken clock gets it right twice a day, mate. So, that's all I'll say. I got lucky on 3 occasions, perhaps, but it is an amazing stat when you think about it. And even more amazing is the fact we don't actually play each other that often, do we, anymore? So, look, it's been disappointing the last couple of days, but I think to play against our old foe must be we should be pressing our administrators for more matches.
Absolutely right. Mystifying that it happens so infrequently. When you did get those wins over Australia, though, Ken, and you played against all of the other cricketing nations as well, were they a bit special, the wins over Big Brother from across the ditch?
Oh, definitely. There's no doubt about that. And I guess with South Africa still weren't back in the hunt, the ICC comp at that stage. So, Australia and England were very much the 2 nations that we aspired most to play against as Test cricketers. And aspired most to beat. I mean, India was not the powerhouse, of course, that it is back in those days. They were still developing as a country and as a cricketing nation. So, no, without a doubt. And any Test match win, any one-day win against Australia in particular was sought after. And a lot's been made of the crowd here the last couple of days. Jason, and again today, full house, great. But I mean, that was commonplace back in the 80s and 90s, wasn't it? I mean, the Basin was always full. Too was Eden Park and Lancaster Park and that. So there shouldn't be surprise around the sold-out sign being up the Basin. It should be expected. Indeed,
and let's hope that they get a lot more to cheer about today. Yesterday was a pretty tough watch, wasn't it? I know you were down there. How much would the inability to get that 10th wicket nice and early on day 2 have set the day up, if you like, in a negative fashion for New Zealand? Just the frustration of not being able to get that breakthrough early on day 2.
Yeah, look, cricket has its foibles and it has its frustrations. I mean, every different angle, and those sort of 10th wicket partnerships, as a captain in particular, are often the most frustrating, and you're kind of pulling your hair out. And I just thought of tactics, and it's easy to say now in hindsight. I mean, we're all great players and great captains, weren't we, with the benefit of hindsight, but we just didn't get it right. I think often when you have a player like Green who's in and is batting well, you kind of, as a captain, sometimes you almost stop trying to get him out. You've actually got to try and get him out as well as the other guy. And as soon as Hazelwood started to show a bit of gumption with Willow in hand, I thought we probably had to go back to Green and say, look, we're going to actually have the field up for longer periods of time. We actually get a bowl off stump, get it swinging in a different way, because it was doing plenty, wasn't it? And actually try and get him nicked out as well. And I just thought the tactics, okay, in hindsight, but at the time when I was watching that first session of play, I was kind of going, well, what is the plan here, guys?
Hindsight, as you say, is a wonderful thing. If you were picking the team, would you have played Neil Wagner?
Possibly. Look, I'm living in Brisbane, as you know, these days, Jason, and I haven't watched a lot of New Zealand this season. But in Wags and talking to a couple of players, a couple of pundits close to the players suggest he's just on the other side of the bell curve in terms of his career. But the thing about Wags is he never lets you down. He defines the term wholehearted. I actually sent him a text on his retirement and said, look, well done, mate. And I think one of the greatest compliments that we can give him is he always plays more like a Kiwi than a Kiwi, if you know what I mean, given his upbringing in Pretoria. So, he's just become part of our cricketing culture, and we all love him for that. And so maybe we would have played him. I think the big thing we've missed, though, I think the misreading of this pitch as this test match goes on, is the fact that it's turning. And, I just see Glenn Phillips is rolling his arm over now. He's just a part-time off-spinner, isn't he? And the fact that we haven't got a spinner playing in this test match is probably more of a concern for me, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and I think that's mystifying as well, because yes, Mitchell Centre doesn't run through teams, but you're right. Has it just been a misreading of the pitch? Surely Gary Stead and Tim Southey had a look at the pitch and made some calculations in their head that there might be turn, and Nathan Lyon proved it yesterday.
Well, Nathan Lyon was turning it square, and amazing to see, really, because obviously we've all watched a lot of cricket at the Basin over the years, and it doesn't tend to turn that much, but it certainly turned yesterday, and you think that would continue as the game goes on. I think you're right. There has been a bit of a misreading of the pitch and a misreading of the playing 11. Look, we're not out of it just yet. In another session and a half, we might be. There's rain forecast, I think, tomorrow and for Monday too. That's why I was a little bit surprised, actually, that Australia didn't enforce the follow-on. I mean, they'd only bowled a hatful of overs, hadn't they? So everyone was quite fresh, and Lyon would bowl into the wind today for long periods, and the seamers would rotate. So a little bit surprised about that, given the forecast for the next couple of days. But I think whatever happens, there will be a bit of internal soul-searching from the New Zealand camp's perspective.
Do you think, Ken, there's anything mental here? These New Zealand players are the same players who perform well against the likes of South Africa, England, India, particularly in home conditions. Do you think there's anything mental here about playing Australia in particular?
You've got to wonder. You've got to wonder if there is something at the back of the players' minds and the staff's minds about playing our greatest competition. I recall, as you will too, 4 or 5 years ago now, when we went to Australia around, I think we had the Boxing Day test in Melbourne, wasn't it, in 2018, roughly?
19,
yep. Very high very high expectations were there in terms of our side being one of the best ever. We had Bolt and Southey who were acting in unison and bowling extremely well. Williamson, obviously, and Ross Taylor, I think, would have been playing there too. So we really backed our chances. And I remember the alarm bells were going off for me when I saw a social media post, and it was 2 days before a game at Perth when the boys were playing beach cricket and Rottnest style, and I thought, maybe they're not quite focused enough here, and that's kind of the way it proved, because we absolutely smashed in that series. And I think you talk about playing Australia and what's required. It's obviously you need to be good at your game, you need to bat well, you need to bowl well, but there's also that kind of intangible of sticking your chest out and rolling your sleeves up and saying to the Aussies, look, fellas, we are not taking a backward step here today. We're going to be in for the fight. And don't know if we've quite managed that just yet.
You did, though. I remember the teams you were in and the ones I mentioned that got test victories. You would have relished, wouldn't you, rolling your sleeves up and sticking your chest out against these blokes?
Well, we had guys in the team who thrived on that. Johnny Bracewell is a good example. And I've got good mates. Mark Waugh's a real good mate of mine, and he still talks about playing New Zealand in those days. They didn't like it because they knew it wasn't just about the game. It was about stuff that happened in and around the game. There was a bit of talk and a bit of verbals and maybe the odd sledge here and there, both ways. But guys like Braces, they've left an imprint on his mind in terms of the way that he played the game. Lance Cairns, the same kind of thing. Cairnsy, John Wright, Bruce Seegers with Bootsy yesterday for a while talking about it. Bootsy got that marvellous 150, I think it was, against Thompson and Lilly in the 81-82 series. I talked to him about the innings. He says it's just incredible. The old helmet with the perspex visor, you can hardly see out the gap. Tomo's running in with a subtly behind and bowling 145. Fair income. That was proper stuff. And I'm not saying it's not proper stuff these days, but the attitude, I guess that's what I'm inferring. The attitude is as important, if not more important, than the actual skills.
Just before you go, I know you haven't managed to pick up a wicket during the time we've been chatting, so I'll just keep you on for one more question and let's see if we can get a wicket. But son Hamish obviously brought his long first-class cricket career to a close recently. How much have you enjoyed watching him play top-level cricket over the last decade and a half?
Yeah, I might get a bit teary now. Yeah, I have. Yeah, Jason. It's been. I think the whole family really have enjoyed watching Hamish play. He sort of played for a number of years, probably played about 16, 17 years for Otago. So I think whenever you have a career of that longevity, it means you're doing quite a few things right. And look, I've watched a lot of it where I've been around the world. It's been on the internet, obviously, at various times, and on TV as well when he's been playing on live television. I'm very proud of not just the cricketer the fella's become, but of the human being. And he's got a lot of really good things happening in his life. And, he's only 30, his birthday, he's not 89, so he's going to be 35 in a couple of months' time. So he's got all to look forward to, mate. So very proud. And, he's a fine human being, most importantly, and he's done okay with the bat in hand too.
Runs in the family. Thanks, Ken. Great to chat to you, mate. Enjoy today. I hope there are a few wickets in our near future.
Now, more importantly, is the Phoenix playing this weekend? Are the Phoenix playing this weekend or not?
They certainly are, yes. They're playing tomorrow afternoon down at Sky Stadium. So I hope the cricket isn't finished by then. They kick off at 5 tomorrow afternoon. So if they can retain their position at the top of the table, then I'll be a happy man, Ruds.
Yeah, no, they're going bloody well, aren't they? It's really good to see.
It is. Hey, great to chat to you, Ken. Always enjoy our conversations. Ken Rutherford, the one and only, joining us here on Weekend Sport live from the Basin Reserve. You might have heard a little bit of the wind in the background there. The Wellington northerly has certainly arrived.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.